All right, we are live. What is going on, everybody? I see a few people on right now. Hello, everyone. Hello, world. Hello, Chi fams. Happy Friday. It is 7 o'clock, and it is that time of the week. Today, I got a special guest for all of you guys, but I won't introduce him until um in a bit. So, first things first, a little bit of housekeeping. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys like and subscribe to be part of the Chi fam. So that way, whenever I upload any videos or whenever I go live, you guys get notified. And if you guys are watching the replay, comment below, And while you guys are on the live stream, make sure you guys go into the live chat, put your questions there so that way we could answer it. I really do look forward to today's live stream. It's gonna be legit. I got somebody special for all you guys. But you guys know the drill. We are gonna have to do a quick market update for all of you guys. So let me just transition it over to the screen share. Let me just do that real quick. There you go. Okay, let's find out how many homes are for sale in this market. So let's go right here. Put 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2-car garage minimum. Let's go over to Sac County, Placer, and El Dorado. All right. Oh man, 123 homes for sale, 3 counties right now. Not a lot. Not a lot of homes. Let's see how many are pending. Oh, sorry. Gotta put this. 36. 36 home pending. Oh my gosh. Some of them were probably sold. Let's go into the sold. How many homes sold? Oops, not one May. So from there on to today. About 400 homes sold last week. Okay. There you go. That's a market update for you guys. 100 plus homes for sale in 3 counties. All right. Let me cue in the. Let me go ahead and cue in the guest speaker for today. So this guest speaker, if you guys saw from the thumbnail, his name is Charles. He's a service manager over at CalPro Inspections. I use CalPro a lot, and I recommend them a lot to all my first-time home buyers that are purchasing a home, just because I've worked with a lot of different type of home inspectors out there before, and they are by far some of my favorite people to work with because they're genuine. They educate you guys about the process. They write detailed reports on their home inspections so that way you guys know exactly what they're seeing. And you guys are going to hear in a bit, Charles is going to share with you guys some new programs that they have coming out soon. And there's just so much to know about home inspections. And hopefully you guys are looking forward to tonight's live stream like I am. So without further ado, let me cue in Charles. You ready, Charles?
Yes.
All right, man, you're live, dude. Everybody can hear you. Everybody can see you.
All right.
How you feeling, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, thanks again for taking the time out on your Friday to come spend it with me and the Chichi fams.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You ready to do this, man? Why don't you do a quick introduction, real quick? I know I did a little bit, but share a little bit more detail.
Well, so I've been in the industry of home inspections since about 2016. I've been doing maintenance, handyman, a little bit of construction, pretty much ever since I've been an adult. So Been about 20 years into different things. So along the way, I've learned a lot about a lot of different types of components about homes and even some commercial buildings. So being a home inspector was kind of second nature for me. So, um, but yeah, so I've been with CalPro since 2016. Made my way up to services manager over time, and basically now I run the home inspection division for CalPro. Um, yeah, so it's been good.
Yeah, man, you are. When I first met you, you were still doing inspections for Glennon and them,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
now you're managing a whole fleet of
Yes.
people, man. How's that going for you, transitioning like that?
It's going good. I've always liked to be in a type of leadership role, so I mean, it's been going pretty good. I also love to educate people, love to train people, so it's been a nice transition, and to actually see the people that I've trained out there doing inspections, it's great, and to be able to to have the effect to train these guys into what they are, it's been great. So I love it.
How many guys are you training right now, or how often do you train new people coming in?
Honestly, we basically are training, whatever we need to keep our capacities up. But I mean, currently, right now, we have two guys in training in the Sacramento area, and then we also have, another inspector in training in the Bay Area, as well as another one that's going to be coming on. Biggest thing for us is we want to make sure that we have the capacity to be able to get an inspection done within 48 hours, because I mean, especially now with today's climate, the industry, we have to be able to get inspections out immediately. I mean, we've got 7-day contingencies, 10-day contingencies. So, we need to be available for you guys to be able to do inspections as soon as
That's
possible. So,
true, man. I remember when I used to schedule up inspections with you guys, and you guys would be like, "Chia, that's too late of a notice for us. We need at least a week out." I'm like, "I don't have a week. You know,
yeah,
it's a seller's market, and my buyers are getting outbidded. The only way they could stand out is if they remove inspection contingencies or reduce the terms to like 7 days or 2 days."
yep, yep.
So like it's crazy, man. But I'm glad you guys are adjusting. I'm glad you guys are doing good over there at CalPro. Um, can you share with us all the services that you guys provide at CalPro, so that way any first time home buyers that are listening, or even any new agents out there that are looking for a home inspector would know?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, first and foremost, we provide a home inspection. It's a pretty extensive inspection into most components into the home. We're going to do the roof, which is included in our home inspection. If there's a crawl space, we'll obviously do that, and then all the exterior and the major components in the home. Then we also have a pest services division, which is going to include WDO, which is wood destroying organisms. So that's going to be looking for termites, beetles, dry rot, fungus growth, all that. And then we also offer actual pest control services as well. So obviously, after you move in, if you're having problems with rodents, any insects, all that kind of stuff, we provide services for that as well. And then during the inspection, we also have mold sampling. If there's anything during the inspection that we note that looks like it's mold, during our home inspection, we do not inspect for mold. So I want to make sure that's clear. We can't actually just look at the mold and say that's mold. This is a problem. If we see something that looks like mold, then we're going to suggest to have it sampled and tested. So we can do that while we're on site, or we can at least have it done in the next 24 hours. We can have somebody out there to sample that area, and then obviously if there's some areas that are of concern, there was a leak or something like that ahead of time, then we can do mold sampling. And that's air sampling and also surface testing as well if there's an area that's of concern. And then we also do provide sewer lateral inspections as well. Sewer lateral inspections is important. That's basically your drainage piping that leaves your house and goes out to whatever public connection that you have. So whether or not you're governed by the county or the city, that piping that leaves your house from there, even though you think, okay, well, that's going over to the city, so I don't need to worry about that. That's still the homeowner's responsibility as long as it's on that person's property, and in some cases, even past that. So that pipe, as soon as it leaves the house, during our home inspection, especially if it's a crawl space, we'll be able to see the piping underneath the house as long as it's visible. But anything else that leaves that house, and that we don't have any idea about what that pipe looks like, if there's any obstructions, if there's any damage to it, And so we do a sewer lateral inspection with a camera. We actually push the camera down the line, and we'll be able to see if there's any problems with the sewer lateral piping. Um, and then we also do an infrared scan as well. And basically, what that is um, any different heat temperature readings or cooling temperature readings. What we've been able to do with it is we can, in most cases, detect leaks, detect overheated electrical panels, and also look for any issues with insulation and things like that. But it's been really beneficial to detect leaks, especially when what we usually do with it is if there's an upstairs, there's been some staining, we'll run hot water, and then we'll be able to check that with our camera to see if there's actually any damage or anything coming, any leakage coming from up above. So it's definitely a nice tool to have for sure.
You mentioned a lot of different type of services that y'all do, which is great. Now,
Yeah.
I would hate to confuse a lot of first time home buyers into thinking, oh my god, that's a bargain. Couple $100 for a home inspection. I get all of that. Now, of course, it doesn't come with a regular general home inspection, right? Because some
Yes.
of those items are specialist
Hmm.
requirements to where, like you mentioned earlier, if you guys see or you guys feel that there might be some sort of a form of fungus that might be mold potentially, you guys will hire a mold specialist to come out and get that inspected. That's not part of the general home inspection, correct?
Yes.
Got it. So
So
I'm
the good thing about it is that if we so the home inspection, there's a separate cost for that, right? So you get your home inspection scheduled. If you're concerned, for example, let's say you have a large tree in the front of the property, and you're concerned that the sewer lateral may have some problems, because that's typically where you're going to have issues, is if you have big trees in the back or the front, depending on where the sewer's connection is. Sometimes you might think about ahead of time. Well, I'm a little concerned about that. I want to get a sewer lateral inspection. Or if our inspectors are on site and they see that maybe the driveway has some damage to it, it's sinking down and settled in some areas, or if there's a big tree in the front and we can see where that sewer lateral is, we might suggest, hey, you might want to get a sewer lateral inspection because this could be a problem. So those then, same thing, if we're on site and we see any issues with mold or anything that looks like it, we'll suggest, hey, while we're here, it might be a good idea to get this sampled, because that way you have a good idea if there's an issue with mold in the home. But all
yeah.
those, like you said, like you mentioned, those are separate services. Same thing, on as well. We also do pool inspections as well. So if the home has a pool and you're concerned about, the operation of the pool and the equipment and all that, we can check that too. But all these different things are obviously different services that we provide. There's different costs for, depending on the size of the pool, and if it has a spa, or how many samples of mold sampling you need done, and how many different cleanouts there are for a sewer lateral inspection. So I mean, everything has different pricing, but typically, when you have multiple services, we also do provide a package discount as well to help with that.
So then let's talk about the most uh like the most recent or the a inspection that a buyer would generally get, the general home inspection and the pest inspection. What is involved when you guys are inspecting a home? Like, what do you guys actually do? Like, sometimes I get clients who just say, do they even do anything? Do they even do anything, or do they just sit there for like a couple of hours at the home and take pictures?
Yeah, so that's the thing. There's a lot of people that have different ideas about what exactly we do. So, I love to share this because it's very important for people to know exactly what we're doing. So,
Yeah.
when we get to the home, the very first thing we do is we get there and we take a look at the house just on the outside, and we're looking for any obvious things. We're trained when we see things. We're just literally walking around, and as soon as we see something, it's like we're writing it down immediately. But we're going to look at the main exterior of the home. We're going to look for any evidence of any damage, any water intrusion. We're going to look for, obviously there's things that everyone can see, but there's things that even if you can see it, you might not be trained to know what you're looking at. And so
Right.
we're going to look at basically everything that we can possibly see visually, and then also inspect. So, for example, we're not going to open up the entire air conditioning and heating system and start, testing every single component of it. What we do is we run everything in a general service condition. So we run the air conditioning system for about 10 minutes. We run the heater system for about 10 minutes. We're going to check for any evidence of previous inspection, or repairs.
Mm.
We're going to check for any damage, things that again, homeowners don't go in their attic a lot of times. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
have your furnace unit up there, we're going to look at the unit and visually inspect it from what we can see from the outside. There are obviously much more in-depth services that you can get, but we're testing the unit to make sure that it's functioning properly and that there aren't any problems with it visually while we're looking at the actual unit and inspecting it. Same thing with underneath the sink. We'll look underneath the sink to see if there's any evidence of any previous leaks or if there's any damage that's been caused by a leak that's been under the sink. But we're looking at all of these components in a very quick timeline. We have about maybe 2 hours or so to do each normal sized house, and by normal I
Mhm.
mean between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet. Anything above that, we just add time on so that we have more time to look at every single component. But we're looking at all these different things and running everything, but we're not digging into every single problem and looking at every single thing. Usually, when there's a problem, we're going to suggest for further evaluation at that point.
When you say you guys do as much as you guys can possibly do, like what is the limit? Can you guys um let's say like what we were talking about earlier, like before we went live, let's say we came across a home that's a hoarder house.
Yeah,
Can you guys move the items out of the way so you guys can look behind the walls, under the rugs, all of that?
yeah,
Like,
and that's another thing. So understand, an occupied home, any occupied home, whether or not it's a really clean occupied home or a hoarder status occupied home, it's you got to give the same respect that you would give if you were the seller and that was your house. This is still somebody's house. This is still somebody's home, and so we look at every single thing that we can possibly find visually. We shine our light in all the different locations, but we're not going to move couches. We're not going to lift up rugs. We're
mm,
not going to start moving dressers and beds around and things like that because we have to respect, the homeowner's property. And so, obviously, we won't be able to test every outlet. We won't be able to test every light. But as I mentioned before, we're going to test every single thing we can possibly get to, even if it's an occupied home. If it's a hoarder type home and there's just stuff everywhere, then it's going to be a pretty light inspection because there's not a whole lot we can do. Keep in mind, same thing with garages. If a garage is fully piled up because obviously they try to stage the house, they want to keep it clean, but then they just shove everything in the garage, it makes it a lot harder to be able to see things. And we do our best to see every single thing that we possibly can, but that's why it's important, obviously, before the inspection to try to have the sellers, make as many things as accessible for us as possible. Biggest things are attic accesses, crawl space accesses. Everything else, generally speaking, it's usually going to be fine, but we really need to be able to see in the attic. We really need to be able to see in the crawl space. And then if you have major components like a heater furnace unit that's in a garage, or if you have a water heater that's in a garage, we need to be able to see those things too so that we can actually get around it and inspect it. But if there's all kinds of stuff piled in front of it, it makes it a lot harder to do that. So our inspection is a visual inspection. What we do as far as digging into different things, we'll open up components and look inside of the heater. We'll run the oven, but we're not going to like start to disassemble things and take things apart to diagnose it. Where a technician, like an HVAC technician that's looking at the heater and the air conditioner, will literally take it all apart. They'll check the capacitor readings. They'll check the motor, the fan motor, to make sure it's running properly. They'll make sure that there's no oils or anything leaking from the fan motor. They'll make sure, they'll actually, if they have the opportunity to, they'll take an inspection camera in there and they'll check the heat exchanger. That's one of the things that's important to mention also. We will do all of those things as far as the visual inspection, but if you are concerned about a unit that's older, you may want to have an advanced inspection done on certain components that you're concerned about. So for example, the air conditioning and heating system, if it's 30 years old, you may want to have someone deep dive into it a little bit more, to which,
mm,
like I said, that costs a little bit more, but that's the type of inspection that you're getting. Our inspection is the entire house, and that's the thing, is we're going to look at every single component on a visual basis and run everything that we possibly can, but certain things are going to require more time. A good HVAC inspection might take an hour to 2 hours, and that's the whole time that we're there to do the entire house. Same thing with the pool inspection. If we have a pool inspector out there, a good pool inspection could take an hour to 2 hours. And so when we extend our time so that the inspector can do the pool and the home, that's the reason why some of these inspections take so long, because we need to be there for that amount of time so that we can fully evaluate things.
got it. Now, you mentioned that you guys also service Bay Area.
Mhm.
Is it just Bay Area and Sac, and of course Lincoln area? Like, what are all the areas that you guys cover?
Well, so obviously, as we add inspectors to different locations, I mean, it basically extends our reach to different locations. I mean, as it is right now, we travel pretty far up 80, further even past into Colfax, up 50. We'll go, as far even Diamond Springs, Placerville, that area. We actually have a couple inspectors that are up in that vicinity, so we'll go up that direction up 50. As far as going south, I mean, we'll go as far as Stockton, Lodi, Modesto, and into the Bay Area. We'll go, further down into 80. And by the time we get there, we pretty much just keep going because we have our map bridge is right in there, right where we would stop. In the Vallejo area, Concord area, we have another inspector that can come up from south, or another inspector that can come from the west and come in and cover those areas. So our reach is rather large. On our website, we actually have a service map that you can click in a zip code and find out if we service the area. But yeah, we have a pretty far distance reach now. And then as far as the San Jose area, we'll go as far as into Hollister, Santa Cruz, and then as far north is San Francisco. So. And as we grow, we're just continuing to add inspectors to those areas so that we can service more areas.
So then my question to you, Charles, is we are in such a crazy hot market right now. Some buyers, like what we mentioned earlier, are removing inspection contingencies because that's the only way to get a house.
Yeah.
Do you still recommend those buyers to do a home inspection?
Well, I always recommend if you're going to make this huge investment, this huge purchase, I still recommend doing a home inspection. The main thing about it too is obviously if you're going to waive contingencies, you're kind of just going to be stuck with whatever you have. It's still a good idea to have an idea about what you're getting into, even if you don't have any recourse to have the seller try to pay for it. Another service that we're going to begin to offer here shortly is called an inspection walk and talk. And what that basically is we're going to be able to go to the inspection, or I'm sorry, go to the property with the buyers. Maybe right before while you're doing a showing, or maybe in an extended period of time where you can get in there and have a little bit of extra time to try to take a look at the property. We'll be able to talk about all the major components of the home, things that are going to be the biggest cost. And then without a report, there isn't going to be a whole lot of background in it, but we're basically going to be able to share our knowledge and our expertise with a buyer. So that way they can make a decision on a home that they may not be able to have a contingency period on, where they literally just have to buy it as is. And instead of getting into contract and being stuck, they might be able to, have this opportunity to look into a few things before they actually make that decision. But I absolutely still recommend getting an inspection because I said even if you're going to be into it, I mean, you at least want to have an idea about what you're getting into and what you're going to be worrying about for the next however many years you're going to own that home.
Right. Now that inspection that you just mentioned that you guys are gonna be rolling out soon, how fast can you get one of those scheduled?
Well, I mean,
Let's
when
say
it
I
comes
call
down,
you today and I'm like, "Hey Charles, I just got a homing contract. I need an inspection."
I mean, honestly, depending on the situation, I mean, especially in the beginning, we should be able to get to those in some cases in the same day, possibly the next day. Here's the thing: the nice thing about it is there's no inspection report, there's no timing involved as far as that goes. I mean, I can just call up one of my guys, especially if we have an opening, and say, "Hey, we have a walk and talk we want to have done." We should be able to get to those in about 24 hours. And I mean, if my guys aren't doing them, then I should be able to get to them. They're pretty quick. There's no report. The cost of it is about half the cost of a home inspection, depending on the size of the home. But the idea is you can just get in there and set the schedule up and actually have this done right then and there. You have to be there obviously because you need to be able to write these things down because there's no report. But pretty much within 24 hours we'll be able to take care of that.
How much is your general home inspection?
So on a basic home,
Average.
yeah, average home that's about maybe again using that same range about between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet. Our homes inspection prices usually range without a crawl space. They usually range somewhere between 380 and 430, something around there
So
for
then
that size.
if you guys were gonna be proposing the other inspection where it's just a walkthrough, no
Mhm.
reports given, it'll be half of that. Is that
It'll
is
be
that what you're
about half
saying?
that, yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
Because
What
literally this is the thing, there's no the labor cost involved in that is insignificant in comparison. There's no report. Literally when we're there for about, depending on the size of the house, again, we're there for about a half an hour to an hour. We're talking about what we see right there on site, and then we pretty much cut ties after that. That's the difference. Not really a whole lot of the
what was that?
differences with having a report. The differences between not having a report and not having that backing after the fact is different. We're literally there just for that time. We're going to tell you what we see, and then that's the end of it. There's nothing else involved in it. So it's just basically one of our experts is there on site with you to tell you what's going on, and that's pretty much the end of it. Where when you're doing a home inspection, you have the report, you have the backing of if something goes wrong after the fact, what can you guys do if you miss this, if you miss that. We're literally just looking at the main components of the home. We're not testing every single outlet. We're literally just walking around with the buyers and answering questions, and then looking at the major components: water heater, air conditioning and heating, roofing, explaining why you need to have these things serviced and maintenance, why you need to make sure that you're maintaining, the exterior of your home, all those different things. We can talk about all that, and they just need to basically, listen, take it down, record if they need to, whatever they need to remember. But those are the kind of things that we'll cover during those.
Got it. Okay, so before I go on with the next question, just a little bit of housekeeping. I got a few viewers that just came on. If you guys are just watching this right now, if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys go into the live chat box, okay? If you guys are watching the live stream now, if you guys are watching the replay, make sure you guys like this video. All right, and subscribe if you guys aren't already. We do this every week. Today we have Charles here. He's a service manager for CalPro Home Inspections. CalPro does majority of all of my inspections just because they provide so much value for my clients, and it's so much easier to just kind of refer them to my clients because I've been working with them for so many years already. One thing I like, Charles, about CalPro was out of all the inspectors I worked with before in the past, I have not found one company that was willing to offer like a 90-day peace of mind warranty. From the initial inspection that it was ordered on the home, within 90 days, if that client moves in and they found out something was wrong with the home that was not mentioned on the report, you guys will come out at no charge, right? Are you guys still offering that?
So the 90-day warranty, the way that it originally worked is, the 90-day warranty would actually cover certain items for repair. So, for example, if the air conditioning and heating was less than 10 years old, or if the water heater was less than 10 years old and something happened to it, or if there was an issue with a certain component, there was a lot of stipulations. There was a lot of different things that they covered. But the difference is we don't offer that anymore, only because we just decided to cut ties with that with that warranty company. But the difference is we will still back up our inspection. We do have a satisfaction guarantee. Obviously, if for some reason, there's a legitimate reason for why the client is not happy with our inspection, because obviously our bottom line is we want to make sure our clients are happy with our
Right.
service that we provided. But if we miss something, or if there's something going on at the inspection, something that we obviously, and again, there has to be an understanding as to what we're doing. Again, as I mentioned before, we cannot see everything, and we do our best to find everything and see everything. But if there's like a big couch blocking the wall and there's a giant hole behind the couch, there's no way for us to know that. And that's
Of
not like,
course.
well, I'm not satisfied because you didn't tell me there was a big hole behind this couch. Well, there's no way for us to know that. But that's the idea, is within reason. I mean, we're all adults here, but that's my point, is we stand behind what we do. If there was literally no way for us to know that that's one of those things where it's like, okay, I encourage everyone to get a home warranty. But if it's clearly something that my home inspector missed, I want to make good on that. So if I can help with the repair, or at least refund the inspection because they weren't satisfied, I'm gonna at least do that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, like what I mentioned was like, let's say buyers ordered a home inspection like within 90 days ago, right? And they move in, and then all of a sudden there was mold. And then they go back in the report, and the report shows that there was no mold, but of course there was pictures and there was nothing obstructing it. In a case like that, you guys would come out and check to see why they missed it, or if it was a new issue, right? Because I I read your reports that you guys write. It's really really detailed. Like, even if you guys see something small to where like you guys feel or believe something might be stirring up, you guys
Yep.
recommend a like a specialist to come out there.
Yep. Exactly.
So like in but there are small chances to where you guys do miss something, but you guys normally do come out.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the thing. It's not even a 90-day thing. If I had a client call me the other day about something, and I think it was 6 months ago, and they were concerned about something. And so what happened was I called the client. We talked about the situation, and this particular situation warranted a site visit. So I went out to the site. I explained everything. I explained, because they had a contractor come out and they had mentioned that there was something going on, and they were saying, "No, your home inspector should have said something about that." And so then basically, all the time. So I talked to her on the phone. I went out to the site. We talked about the situation, and I explained what it was and what it actually is happening. And she was, oh great, this is great. I mean, I appreciate you coming out. And that's really the thing is like I want to at least hear what you have to say. If we miss something, like I said, I want to try to do my best to take care of that. But if it's just something that you just don't understand or whatever the case is, I also want to explain that too. I don't want to just push you off and say, well, I don't know what to tell you, because that's not how we do business.
No, no, that's good. Now, if you guys are doing all these home inspections, right? Like, and you guys are expanding, you guys are doing all of this, how often is the industry for home inspection changing? Are there like new protocols that you guys have to be up to date on in order for you guys to continue with your license? Like, can you tell a little bit about that?
Well, so that's part of the thing. Home inspectors in California are not licensed.
Mm.
Pest inspectors are licensed, but home inspectors are not licensed in California at all. There's no requirement to be licensed, and that's why it's very important to make sure that you pick your home inspector. You make a really good choice in picking your home inspector, because any random Joe Blow on the street can just say, "I'm a home inspector," you know. But you want
What?
Exactly. You want to make sure that the home inspector is certified and trained properly, and look at the reviews, look at all the things that they've gone through. But that's the thing, California doesn't have any requirement for that. The only thing is, and we go above that, and we make sure that we're certified. All of our inspectors go through a certification through InterNACHI, which is a international certification company for home inspectors. And then just to back up whatever else is going on during our inspection, we're also insured as well. And so, but that's the point is anybody can be a home inspector, anybody, and anybody that says anything, it's ridiculous. So you want to make sure you're picking somebody that knows what they're talking about and has the experience to actually inspect the home, and that's why it's important to have that.
I
But we have continued education again through InterNACHI, and then we also do other continuing education just on our own. Certain things have come up. Just back in 2018, there was a new requirement on pools and safety equipment. Regardless if we inspect the pool or not, and we do a home inspection, we have to mention whether or not there's any safety equipment on that pool.
mm,
So if there's no alarms on the back door, or there's no mesh screening around the pool, all those things we have to look, and we'll mention it. Unfortunately, sometimes it pisses off listing agents and things like that, because they're like, well, why are you talking about the pool? You didn't even inspect it. But it's a requirement. We have to do it. Certain things come up. I mean, we're talking about different kinds of pipes, different kinds of things that are happening in the industry. We just had something happen in Folsom recently, where their water quality in the area, something was going on where it was causing everybody's copper pipes to start leaking. And then you have different types of supply pipes that have recalls and all this kind of stuff. So we all have to be, versed in all that, up on all that. And then when things change, we make sure all of our guys have, all this information, so that way they can let all of our clients know.
because you guys are doing home inspections a lot, do you guys get a lot of people asking you guys if you guys could do the work? Can you guys do the work?
Yeah, so we do often get that, but the thing is, most businesses or most services will provide a quote, and they'll say, okay, well, I can do this work as well. InterNACHI requires us not to do work. That's another thing
Mm.
that's good about with the certification that we have. Any home inspector, again, you can have some random guy say, I'm a home inspector, and then he goes out and calls all this fake bogus stuff out, and then he's like, oh yeah, and I'll do all these repairs for you, and give me your money, because I'm gonna tell you all these things that are wrong that really aren't. So we are not allowed to do any work on any homes through our certification within 12 months of a inspection.
Mm.
And I mean, we can talk about whatever we see, and we can give an idea about how much it would cost, or give an idea about what they should do. But yeah, we can't actually do the work
I
ourselves
like
as a
that.
company.
I think that's great because I think a lot of times, even me, before I knew the industry, I always imagined, man, these home inspectors are gonna try to find out everything wrong with the home because they want to recommend all this job for them, so that way they can mark up the price and make money from the repairs. So,
Yeah,
so you guys don't even allow to work on the home within 12 months. That's
no.
crazy.
Well,
So,
and that's part of the thing too. So like with the pest inspector, a pest inspector is licensed. You can't, as a pest inspector, you can't just call out a bunch of bogus things, because then you'll get reported to the structural pest board.
who's gonna
You can't
report
just
him?
the clients will report them. You know, we've had people. We've It's so ridiculous. Somebody that's pissed off will report someone that calls out certain things, but it's like you're wasting your time. You're just calling out what's wrong, but you can't just call out bogus things
Like
and
what?
say
Give
that
me
there's
an
a
example.
well, say for example, say that there's termites when there isn't, or say that there's rot somewhere or something when there isn't. You actually have to be legitimate, and then if you're not and you're calling these things out, then like I said, those people can be reported to
Mm.
the pest board. But with home inspectors, what are you going to do? Just complain about them? I mean, then they'll just change their name and go be somebody else and just do home inspection.
I see.
So that's the thing. Home inspectors, you really need to make sure you're dealing with somebody that's legitimate. And most home inspectors, as I said, will not uh, you can't like Internachi, and also there's another one I forgot what it is at the moment, but most certifications they won't. It's because it's a conflict of interest. It's not proper.
Have you guys ever got confused with the appraiser? Sometimes I'll get buyers that would say, "Hey, Chia, I already did my home inspection. Why do I pay for? Why do I need to pay for a home appraiser?"
Sometimes, yeah, especially those appraisers that are like over the top, like they're really, really, really thorough. Some of them start to do stuff like a home inspector. I mean, they'll get in there and start inspecting things, and I mean, most of the time, I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen them appraisers. They'll come in, they'll just be quick. They got their measuring thing. They'll be out in
Mm-hmm.
and out in 5-10 minutes. But some of them they get in there, they stay there for half an hour. They start to ask us questions. What are you doing? What's that? Oh,
Yeah.
why are you looking at that? What's that? And then they'll start writing stuff down on their pad. So
No, I've seen it. That's why I asked because like sometimes appraisers do get in there and they ask for like the reports. Like like if it was a FHA or a VA, they would ask for like a pest inspection report. Did you guys
yeah.
do pest inspection? Okay, who's the company? I need to call and talk to these guys. Like when you guys get a phone call like that, what do you guys normal how is a normal routine?
Well, I mean, the thing about it too is for us, the report is the property of the the buyer, and they are the ones who can decide what they want to do with it. So,
Right.
honestly, we have to get permission before we just release a report to someone. I mean, we have a lot of times, a property will fall out of escrow, and then we've done the inspection, and then it's not our decision to give that report to a new agent or whoever else. Basically that agent, the buyer, the original buyer's agent, or the buyers will typically share that with the seller, or they'll share it, however they do. At that point, then that's where it is. But we can't just give the report to whoever we want. We need to make sure we have permission first, because that inspection report is because the buyer is the one who paid for it.
I thought that a pest inspection is public record. So let's say another buyer
Pest
comes.
inspection is different. That is public record. Yes,
It is
yes,
public record,
100%.
right? But not the
It
home
is
inspection, but the pest
not
is.
the home inspection. The home inspection has to be disclosed by the seller once they get it. I mean, but I know sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
But
it's a
they
gray
they
area. Oh
should
yeah,
be.
we never had it done. Buyers
Yeah.
didn't do inspection. They just canceled.
Yeah.
BS.
Well, and
No.
that's the thing. I've ran into that before, and it was a house that was really beat up, and
Mm.
the agent, it was another agent that normally works with us that was asking us. They said they wanted to get an inspection done, and they said that they mentioned it, and I said we did an inspection on this home like a month ago, and they didn't realize that. And then, so I'm like, well, let me talk to the buyer's agent and the buyer and to see if we have permission, and because they never shared it, and they had it. I know they had it.
Wow.
So, we ended up sharing it after with permission, but yeah, sellers and agents sometimes will do some,
Awkward.
yeah, yeah, they'll do some shady stuff, but I mean, it was bad too.
Yeah, I mean, what are you trying to hide? Like it's you're supposed to disclose it. You know that as an agent, when you if you're a listing agent and a buyer comes in through the listing and they did inspections, they did all their due diligence and then they cancel maybe because of the inspections, you're supposed to disclose that to all the buyers that are coming in saying, "Hey, here's why they canceled." But some agents are so shady, they would just say, "Oh, they canceled because they didn't qualify for the loan."
Yeah.
You sure that was the reason why they canceled? Or was it because they saw termites and the sellers don't want to fix it, and now the sellers are gonna go fix it and say that the house is clean?
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but that's
Yeah.
why it's important to make sure that all these inspections and all these items, you might even have. I mean, you get a lot of people that'll sometimes say that the sellers, when you do a pre-listing inspection, that you got the home inspectors in your pocket, and you wrote down only what they wanted to do. but we get this a lot in the Bay Area. I mean, we
Mm.
do the same inspection regardless if it's a buyer or a seller, and sometimes it pisses sellers off because, you
Yeah,
know,
because they don't know that their home was that messed up.
well, yeah, or they'll be like, "Well, I took care of my house and none of this stuff is wrong, and you're just trying to do this and that." And it's like, you do understand you literally paid us to do this, right? you know. So, but regardless, we do the same inspection no matter what kind of situation it's for, because we want to make sure that we're going to get that same quality every single time. And somebody else they might not be fine with our inspection, so they'll call for another inspector to come out there. So we're not going to, not right, because then we're on the hook for that stuff.
Right.
So that's the point. I mean, it's really unfortunate that there's people out there that'll do that kind of stuff, but it's the reality.
It is, there's bad apples everywhere, I like to say. You just gotta be careful. But um you guys said that you guys are expanding. Or if somebody wanted to become a home inspector, what is CalPro's requirement?
So at this point, I don't, because we go through training and that's fine. I'll start with somebody that doesn't have any experience, but it just takes longer to train. But especially
Of
in this
course.
climate, we need guys, pretty quick. But main thing is you have to have some kind of background in homes of some kind. You have to have some kind of background, and I don't care if you've been a good handyman, you've been a maintenance person, you've been a construction worker, something. You have to have some kind of knowledge about a home, because you can't just walk in and literally have nothing, unless you're just a really awesome person and you're a quick learner. But
Mm-hmm.
you got to have some kind of knowledge. It's like with me, it's like when I'm talking about what's going on with this house, I'm bringing this knowledge that I've had from my past. It's not just about training and what I've learned, it's about things that I've learned over the years.
Right.
So for me to actually be able to talk about a water heater and talk about a furnace and talk about all these other different components about a home, that all comes from experience. And so it's definitely good to have that. And so that's pretty much where we won't just take some random person off the street that doesn't have any knowledge. We have to have you have to be versed in homes. You have to have some knowledge, background knowledge.
No, just knowledge. Like, what if they have that, but then they don't like? Do they need like a certificate for anything too?
No,
How long is a certificate course that you were talking about with that company that you guys go through?
so I mean, it depends. The course it actually takes, I mean, it's a pretty extensive course, and there's continuing education. But it really just depends. But there's no certificate that they have to bring to the table. We do training with these guys, once they're on the team, they can just come in with previous knowledge and then do the training here and get the certification through us. We'll pay for all that. That's not the problem. But the thing is like I said, I mean, it really depends on the inspector and the person and how long it's going to take them to pick up the knowledge. Some of them have so much extensive knowledge that they're out within a month doing inspections, because they
Mm.
literally know so many different things. Like a construction worker, somebody that's been in the trades for years, that's somebody that we can bring on pretty quickly. They just need to learn the recording software. But someone else that maybe just was a handyman and knows a lot, but maybe doesn't know everything. Then we'll just take the time to teach them.
Got it. One. Oh, yeah, there was something I wanted to ask you. It was regarding pests. Oh yeah. Sometimes a lot of first time home buyers like take words out of context. Like they will see a report and then it'll say fungus or it'll say all these words and they're like, "Oh my gosh, my house got fungus. I don't want to buy no more." Can you explain what fungus can be and what it really is and that it's not really that big of a deal? Like, can you talk about that more?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to do this, because I'm not a licensed pest person, but I'm gonna
That's
do my
right.
best, and because I like I said, I've been doing this enough. So what happens is especially with a high moisture content, what'll happen is the fungus will start to grow on the wood, and then it'll start eating away at it. Okay, and so it's not like when you think fungus, oh my god, it's mold, like all this crazy stuff. But what happens is the fungus starts to grow on the wood, and then it starts to just eat away at it, very similar to with termites, where the termites are going to eat away at the wood. Again, I'm hoping I'm not butchering this, but but the termites will eat away at the wood from the inside, and especially, I mean, you start. That's why, when we're on an exterior of a home, a piece of wood might look perfectly fine,
Mm-hmm.
but the wood actually isn't. It's deteriorated and
Yeah.
it's eaten away. So the idea behind fungus growth is the fungus growth doesn't just stop. The fungus growth will continue, just like a cancer. It will continue to grow and it'll continue to eat away at the wood over time. Just like with termites, the termites aren't going to just go away on their own. They're going to keep eating away at the wood because it's food, right? They're going to keep
Hmm.
getting at it. But that's the idea. Is in most cases, fungus growth, if it can, as long as it hasn't damaged the wood already, it can be taken care of, scraped away and treated. But if it's already damaged the wood and started to eat away at the wood, then you have to replace that wood, or you at least have to cut away all the area that's affected. Otherwise, it's going to continue. So I hope I answered that.
No, no, no. I
Well,
think you did great. Yeah, like
but but
sometimes.
but but, but the main thing that's the thing. So when we're doing an inspection on the outside, for example, if you have trim on the sides of your door, okay, um, the fungus growth is if it hasn't damaged the siding to where it's going to allow water to get into the home. Obviously, all of these damaged areas should be repaired at some point, but there's certain areas that are rotted or have fungus growth. Those aren't as important to do immediately because they're not causing a detriment to the home. So, for example, you might choose if there's a piece of trim around the side of this door on the garage, yeah, you can get to that next spring, if you're buying the house in summertime or fall or whatever. But if there's a big hole in the wall or the siding is deteriorated, well,
Yeah.
that's even if there's no hole, but if the siding is starting to deteriorate because of fungus growth, then that might allow water to get into the home, which is a problem. So you kind of have to take a lot of these things, into context when you're deciding as to whether or not it's a big deal or not. And that's the idea is a pest inspector will be able to explain that to you. In the end, all of that stuff should be repaired. It's a good idea to repair all those areas, but certain things don't have to be done immediately. But it's always going to be a problem if you can't ever just leave. I'll get to that in a year or two. It's going to be worse than that by far
Right.
if you just leave it alone.
No, yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up and you shared that. Thank you. Even though you're not like a licensed pest inspector and all, but then like a lot of times I'll talk to first time home buyers and they get scared. Like it'll be a deal breaker for them because they took the words out of context, or like a home inspector didn't take the time to educate them and let them know, hey, look, if this was my home, I probably wouldn't take care of that yet because it's minor. Because every home has a little bit of fungus growth, but then how much of a damage of it to where I need to pay attention to it now versus a year from now, So like, and I'll get clients that are upset. They'll be like, then I should have never canceled on that other house. I could have been living there and waiting a year or two and then deal with it when it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
You
so
know?
here's the thing. The main thing is the deferred maintenance is really going to help with some of that stuff. So, for example, exposed wood that's not sealed or painted is highly susceptible to fungus growth, and just wear in general. Without that protection from the paint and the sealant and any other kind of sealer compound, you're much more susceptible to having that. So you get to a home that's just had deferred maintenance and no one's painted it, no one's sealed it, no one's kept up on the caulking. It's just really messed up, and the sun's been beaten down on it for years and all that. I mean, those are the areas that are going to be the most damaged. But that's why it's important to make sure, even after everything's said and done, you figure, oh, okay, I got all this stuff replaced. I got my new wood members here now. It's good. I don't have to worry about it now. But if you just leave it exposed and you don't get a good paint job on that, and if you don't keep everything sealed up properly, it's like you just threw that money away.
No, yeah, for reals. But yeah, I think this is all important information, and like people need to understand, like a home inspection, it, it's to provide peace of mind. You're spending all of this money into buying this home, and you can't return it. When you
Yeah, you don't
get
get a
it,
money back
you
guarantee.
don't get your money back no more. So
No.
like you gotta know what's wrong with the home beforehand, because it could be hundreds of repairs, $100 repairs to like hundreds of thousands of dollars repairs. So
Yeah.
can you share a little bit on like why, oh man, I lost my train of thought again. So some FHA loans, yeah, I got it. FHA and VA loans, they require Section 1 clearance. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and what that entails?
So typically, Section 1, again, this is pest stuff. So I'm gonna do my best to
Yeah,
speak
yeah.
on this. But we've talked about this enough so that, I mean, I have a pretty decent idea about it, but Section 1 on a pest report is typically going to be termites, something that's causing current damage right now, something that's damaged or detriment right now. So any fungus growth that's going to continue to damage the home, any termites, beetles, anything that's currently causing a problem right now, leaks, something that's going to immediately cause a problem to the home. So those items, typically when you get that kind of a loan, FHA or VA, they just have more stringent requirements for their loans, and they want to make sure that all of that stuff is taken care of before they'll sign off on the loan. And so those are the type of items that they'll want to see repaired or taken care of before the loan can go through. And so Section 1, whenever you hear Section 1, that's the kind of thing they're talking about. They're talking about the fungus growth, the major damage, dry rot, even if it's just a door jamb with some rot because of fungus growth, that's still considered Section 1. Again, even though that may be something that you can get to in a year or 6 months or whatever it is, that particular lender will not let you do that loan without that clearance, and that's where that's the difference where that comes in there.
Now, this is just for FHA and VA. Even nowadays, some FHA lenders don't really care about clearing the Section 1. But if you wanted to double check, you wanted to be sure because you didn't want that to be like a deal breaker for you to get qualified for a home, first time home buyers, then you're going to have to go with a different loan type, whether it's private financing, cash, or conventional, because some FHA lenders will require that Section 1 clearance to be done. And in this market, sellers that know that their homes have Section 1 clearance issues are not going to want to do those repairs because it could be maybe hundreds to thousands of dollars. And because it's a seller's market, they're just going to rather choose a buyer that's willing to take it as is.
Yep.
So
And if they
bear
see
that.
you're coming in, if they see you're coming in with that kind of loan, they might not even accept your offer just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's one thing I want you guys to consider too. Like all you first time home buyers are watching this right now or watching it for the replay, if you guys are buying in this competitive market right now, make sure you guys understand your loan. Like make sure that if you are, let's say you're using a FHA or VA loan, make sure you're only looking at homes that will accept FHA or VA loans. I tell buyers this all the time, like what type of loan do you have? And a lot of times they're going to say um first time home buyer program. Like that's not a loan. Like is it FHA, is it conventional, is it VA? And then from there, then I show them homes accordingly based off of the qualifications of their loans. And if they're conventional, they can look at all homes. But if it's FHA, some condos won't do it. Some homes that needs a lot of repairs won't do it because they just won't entertain it because they know it ain't gonna pass appraisal. So why even like tease that option, as a owner? So bear that in mind. Since I'm talking about, since I brought up condos, do you guys charge the same fees for condos as well?
No, in some cases, considering that condos are smaller, we typically discount our fees on condos. And most of the time, unless we're requested to, we don't usually inspect roofs on condos, especially when it's like a lower level condo and you have a second story roof and a bunch of other people around. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. The
Right.
exterior, we'll still do a walk around on the exterior. We'll check for all the shutoffs. Where the gas meter is, where the main electrical panel is, where the air conditioning and heating system is, if there's an air conditioning unit on the outside. And then some condos and some townhomes do still actually have requirements for roof inspection and also, or roof responsibility and also exterior maintenance. Some condos don't. They don't. They don't maintain the exterior, and some
Right.
of them don't maintain the roofs. And so it's important for us to know that ahead of time because we don't always inspect those areas, and they're typically maintained by the HOA. But yeah, for
Yeah.
the most part, we don't because it's a much less intensive inspection when we're doing the condo for the most part.
Yeah.
One of the main things that I wanted to bring up is just know what you're getting into. If you have an older home, don't expect it to be perfect because unless
Yeah.
someone has put in major amount of time and a major amount of money to bring this home up to today's standard, like don't expect it to have all of the new technologies, like different types of the GFCI requirements changed, year after year. And a home that might be older might not have requirements. GFCI outlets is basically a safety feature on the outlets. They weren't required back in the 70s,
Right.
in the 60s. Homes weren't even grounded, in the 50s, and so there's going to be, when you get an older home, there's going to be a lot of things that you need to understand, that yeah, you're getting it maybe because of the pricing, or maybe because you like the area, but older homes come with a lot of quirks. Galvanized piping, if the home hasn't been repiped, galvanized piping can be a little quirky, depending on your situation. The drainage piping, newer homes will have ABS plastic piping. Older homes will have galvanized and cast iron piping, which is very susceptible to rusting, especially after 50, 60 years, and even though it might look okay on the outside, it probably isn't very good on the inside, and it's probably been rusting away already. So these are all these little things that you have to think about, the different types of insulation that an older home might have,
Hmm.
and whether or not they've removed it all. A lot of times, I mean, honestly, I prefer right around that mid range, somewhere in the 90s, because with these brand new homes, you don't have, you got all these newer technologies that they're bringing out, and you don't always know, they're not always like proven for a long time. With those
Yeah.
90s homes, you got copper piping, ABS lines, and no PEX and all that. I mean, you got all these recalled pipes and everything. Homes are homes, but you just have to know what you're getting into, and it's good to do the research beforehand, to know what you're to expect. And I mean, we'll do as much as we can to explain that during the inspection, but for the most part, we're doing our job to look for these things, and to tell you what we're seeing. But there's a lot of different things that you may not know unless you ask the questions, or unless you do the research. And there's realtors sometimes will do it, but they might not know. So there's a lot of different things that you have to do if you're going to buy an older home. It's good to do some research before to get into, just so that you know what you're getting into.
Can you share like some of your worst experiences as a home inspector? Of course, you don't have to share any details regarding who it is and all that, but can you share? Because I think, like they could learn a lot from that on how to avoid it.
Um, Well, you mean like just different situations at different homes?
Yeah, like maybe mistakes that made when you were a newer inspector, or like mistakes some home buyers did, not regarding no home inspections, etc. Things like that.
Well, I think one of the big things, especially, is like when you when you don't do an inspection on an older home, especially, you have no idea really what just the situation is. They might have done lots of upgrades. The flips are the worst. Flips are probably one of the worst things for me.
Yeah.
If you get a good flip, it's amazing. It's great. It's not just about what it looks like, and that's one of the things you need to be aware of when
Mm.
you get a flip, especially. It might look beautiful, it might look amazing. They might have made everything look great, but it's once we start to dig into a flip is when we really start to know what's going on. Most of the time, it's on the surface. If it's got a crawl space, they probably didn't do anything under there. If it's got an attic space that's accessible, if it's not a flat roof, they probably didn't do anything up there. A lot of times, they don't do a whole lot on the exterior. They concentrate mostly on floors, appliances, and making everything look pretty. New doors, new windows, and then they throw a paint job on it and call it good. But
Mm-hmm.
without those major components being upgraded, your air conditioning, your roof, and all those other items, that's the stuff that you definitely want to have looked at, especially with a flip. And then just digging into an older home, I mean, again, galvanized pipes. If you aren't looking at galvanized and cast iron drainage piping properly, we might not even be able to see that. That stuff's embedded in dirt all the time. And if you have a constant source of water in your crawl space, there's a really good chance that that stuff's rusted out. But you can't see that because it's all buried under the soil. Um, Galvanized supply lines. What'll happen with those is, it's like a clogged artery. There's a buildup of minerals and rust and everything that starts to make the lining, the inside of the pipe, actually smaller, and then some of that breaks off every so often, and then it flows down the line. And every one of these components that you use in your home, your sinks, your dishwasher, your washing machine, they all have these little mesh screens. To keep any large sediment from coming through. Those things will clog up if you as soon as you shut the water off and turn it back on, and all that stuff rushes back through there. That's when it can break all that stuff off, and then it's kind of a pain in the butt every time you shut off your water. You got to you got to go through and check all and clean
So
all your aerators out and all
so
that.
is that a good indicator that when you're turning water off and that mesh screen that you're talking about is always getting clogged up and you just feel like, man, what's wrong with my water house?
At that point, you need to think about replacing your supply line. Definitely. I mean, either copper or PEX. I mean, at that point, and I mean, honestly, regardless of the situation, I don't care if your house is 50, 60 years old and it has original cast iron drain and galvanized drain lines, and then you have a original galvanized supply lines. It's only a matter of time before things happen. You're always better off upgrading those items at some point because you're going to have ongoing problems at some point. It's definitely a situation.
Mm, 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 mm. What are some of the key components that you would recommend that a buyer really look out for? Like the other day, I was showing a home, and I think it might have structural damage. Like, do you guys cover that too?
Yeah, so when we do our inspection in the crawl space, or even if we're doing an inspection on the exterior, we're looking for different telltale signs. So obviously, cracks in the foundation. Cracks in the foundation can be pretty common. So don't just immediately say, "Oh,
Right.
cracks! I got cracks in my foundation. I'm worried." You got to dig into it a little bit more than that. So if there's structural cracks that are causing actual issues with the home, you're going to see other damage and other cracks in many more other areas. Especially if you can see a lot of doors aren't plumb anymore, if you can see that there's cracks on the wall, especially in those openings, that's the weakest part of the wall.
But then
When
not all cracks are an indicator of structural damage, right? Because I know
no,
that some. So what kind of cracks would be a good indicator to a homeowner?
usually they're going to be diagonal cracks on the wall and right around where the openings are in the wall, like just straight line cracks right on the edge of drywall. That's just because of settling. Maybe they didn't have that many screws installed in the drywall. But usually diagonal cracks either on the exterior, on the interior, by window and door openings. Cracks in the floor. Cracks in the foundation itself, and then also, like I said, doors being out of level, out of plumb. Those are all good indicators of foundational issues. And then obviously, if we have a crawl space area, once we get into the crawl space, we'll be able to check out the actual support members under the house and see if there's any issues under there. I mean, we've found sometimes issues where support piers have been completely rotted out to where they're not even supporting the house on that section anymore, where the concrete piers have deteriorated to where they're not supporting anymore, or
Mm.
just beams that are rotted out or have been cut to make way for a pipe or something underneath, and just aren't supporting. So those are the kind of things that, especially again, you're talking about flips or people that have just done, just handyman homeowner type repairs. You don't know about that stuff until you get somebody to go down and inspect those items. And you get a home that's 40 years old. All kinds of stuff have been done over the years. You might have a homeowner that thinks they know what they're talking about. They put a ceiling fan in, they put a light switch in, or whatever the case is, and all that stuff is you know you never know what you're going to get. I don't know how many times we get into an attic and there's just wire nuts and exposed wires everywhere. No junction boxes. I mean, it's crazy the stuff we see on a daily basis. It's just insane. But all of those things are safety hazards and fire risks, in a home. And you can't just do electrical and go to Home Depot and then call yourself an electrician. You need to know what you're doing in order to do this. And there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube and ways to know how to do these things right, and tutorials. But I'm telling you, all the time, people just take the wires, twist them together, electrical tape. I mean, it's crazy the stuff that people do. But yeah,
Oh man. Okay. Well, man, that was a lot of information, and we are past 8 o'clock. Like I promised you, it was only gonna be an hour, so we went over a little bit, Charles. I apologize.
oh, it's all good. I can keep going, but I know we got a timeline.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your Friday, but then we're gonna have you back, man. Just as a daily refresher because it's always changing, and it's good to know these things because you're spending thousands of dollars on a home that you're gonna be living in for like many years to come. You gotta have that peace of mind and know about the inside and out of your home. So we need to have you back soon. So just for an update. But yeah, man, that's
Absolutely.
that's gonna be it. So we're gonna end it here. I'll close it up. Thanks to everybody that's on the live show. We'll be back again next week. Probably with a different guest. But yeah, Charles, thank you so much. If they wanted to reach out to you, like how would they be able to do that?
Just in general, home inspector, or if they need
Home.
an inspection, they can
Yeah.
call our office. If they need some, questions or advice, I mean, they can definitely email me. Our office has all the information on how to get a hold of me too, so I can just I can do my card here too. I don't know if you can see it all that well, but
Nope. Zoom.
uh,
That the
the the
camera effect is like throwing it
the
off.
camera effect. But yeah, but I mean, I can actually even comment in the comments too and give our information. But yeah, calling our office, our 800 number, our website, calprogroup.com is going to give you the most information as far as us, and then you can get our number and get a hold of us in the office. You can definitely give it any information needed.
For sure, man. Well, thank you so much. You have a good Friday, and thank you, Chi Chi fams. I'll see you guys next week.